We're here.
We're here, and
Look
this
at
is
us.
a different camera than the other one. We're going to zoom us in.
Whoops. Now we're really here.
Yeah, now we're really here.
Because this is where we have all our preset stuff on, so it has to be this one. Also, I hope. Paul,
I think it is.
Paul will fill while I double check that.
What's
okay.
up, Pat? Thanks for being here. Are you in...
He's like in his
wherever you're supposed to be right now.
Yeah, he's like in his long stretch of work, I think.
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, Pat, I can never keep up. I know you tell us every time, and please do not take offense to me or Paul always having to ask, but like you literally go everywhere.
Pasadena? Is that where you're at? Palo, that's what it is. Yes,
yeah, you go everywhere, and so I can't ever keep up. I don't know where Palo is.
You found your luggage, I'm assuming. I know you were missing that for a little bit. First Genesis, thanks for being here.
Oh, I missed missing the luggage. So hopefully this was not the luggage that was carrying all your board game campaigns, because didn't you get Sleeping Gods you were going to take with you?
I'm actually not sure if that was it. I think it was. First Genesis, are you practicing? Are you practicing so that you can beat me on Board Game Arena? That must be what it is.
Oh, it was. Oh, dude, that sucks. I mean, it sucks to lose your luggage no matter what. But
I think he found it. I think they got it. But yeah, I would be like hitting up my job like, you owe me $100 worth of Sleeping Gods. That's what I need.
That's good.
Glad you got it back. Yes,
and hopefully in good shape, right?
Very true. That is.
Every time I fly with games, one of two things happen. One, they're going through with my my carry-on stuff, and I get checked during security. That happens dang near every single time. The second is I get the nice little TSA note whenever I've checked them in my bag, you know.
Your bag has been open.
Yeah, we searched your stuff, you know. And I'm sure they were like, unzip, freaking nerd.
Nerd. And he's got the, but then you got the guy who's like, oh, this dude has the upgraded metal coins. That's why it went up.
No, that's how you just don't get the game back. Like it's taken out, and so he's like, oh, I gotta confiscate this one, you know.
Yeah. So. Limited edition, or this is Mage Knight, the ultimate set.
Pat, I'm with you. Yeah, I honestly, it doesn't bother me. Like people complain. Half the time it's my fault, right? Like, I'm using my work backpack and I had a bottle of water, you know, that I completely forgot was in there from 2 days ago, or, you know, I took my contact solution through, because a lot of times I'll check a bag because I use contact solution with hydrogen peroxide in it, and you cannot go through security with that. It has to be checked. And so a lot of times I check a bag, but sometimes I forget and I'm like, oh, I'm not checking my bag this trip, and so I put that stuff through, and that just automatically like alerts them. You know, they're like, you can't have this. I'm like, I know I can't. Please throw it away. I'll buy some when I get there.
Just like whatever. Just let me get through and let me go where I need to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, so this is our monthly review.
Yes, the second week of the month this time. We
second week
try
of the
month, the first week, but we had that convention.
We're close enough. We're still single digits. To me, that's still okay.
That's still very good.
But yeah, I couldn't last week, and so
we were at the convention. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's bringing a lot of games for next month.
It does. This month is very shallow, so that's what we're filling right now. But yeah, we can get over to it. We can start it off with a game I believe Paul played.
Yes.
And that is going to be
a feast for Odin. So Patrick, First Genesis. I see you were just finishing up a game of solo Feast for Odin. I just finished up I just finished mine up. I actually played this one at the beginning of the month. And it was a...
Real quick.
Yes.
Not that convention.
Not Gen Con.
We would have definitely let you know if it was Gen Con. No, we went to a local convention down here in DFW that's put on every year. Honestly, it's a very well put on one for just being a small local one. I don't know. I'm hard to guess numbers, but 300 people.
400 max is what I was thinking. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what we went to. Now, Paul can continue telling you.
Feast for Odin. It is a great game for solo. First of all, it is a worker placement game, very sandboxy. You can go multiple routes in it. So I kind of decided to go the pillaging route on this one, right? So I was just going to that board, just collecting lots of stuff. You can ask Devin. I generally don't go for the islands out there, and on this one, I think I'd gotten 3 islands.
I have to make him.
Yeah,
Even
Devin
when
has to.
even when playing him, I'm like, Paul, you need to get an
Yeah,
island.
he has to shame me into getting them, so I will get them. But I was able to up my income up quite a bit. I was able to get like a bunch of the resources. I've noticed by playing with you a lot, you're generally not filling your normal player board up until the end. You're filling up the islands. So that's kind of what I was doing. You know, what I really enjoy about it is you can try these different strategies, and it's just a good way to learn the game without playing with other people. I was able to emigrate a lot of my ships and just do pretty much everything I wanted to do. I think I had 3 islands. I had 2 of the little skinny boards, and then I was able to cover up almost all of the negative points on the big board. I ended up getting my highest score I've ever had in the game, which was like 120 or so. So I was really happy with that, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed exploring the game with the solo mode. So that was really good. I really liked it.
Do you have any cool occupations?
I did, and I can't think of them right now. One of them had to do with, it was either hunting or whaling or pillaging. I think it was pillaging. I got to add an extra pip strength for every blue ore that I had. So I know you add one already with that, but this like added one more. So it just made it that much stronger for my pillaging. So that was really good. Yeah, and then I had 2 other ones. One of them was do a feast right now and get like get something. I don't remember off the top of my head. But then you also have to do another feast at the end of the round. So you had to do 2 feasts, but you got something like pretty good from it.
I haven't seen that. That's pretty cool.
And so I was just like, oh, I'm going to try to do that. So I think on my very last round, I was able to like get enough food to do 2 feasts in it.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was good. Again, it's a really cool way to just explore the game.
Yeah.
So.
Genesis, I don't know if you've played with the Norwegians, but the base game, animal breeding is like something you have to go into right away. From the beginning. And a lot of times occupations also have to like favor for you to really get the points and maximize with it. Norwegians fixes, that's the biggest fix it does, is with the animal breeding. It makes it easier to kickstart, and it makes it where it's kind of okay to get round 3 going. So
yeah, and it has the pigs, which pretty much, what is it? They breed like automatically or something, right? Or something like that.
They produce like instead of going to a pregnant phase, it's just you get another.
You just get whatever.
You get another pig, yeah. So they add pigs and horses, horses. And Pat, Gen Con next year. Sounds sweet. And honestly, you should be able to like go for nothing because of how much you fly, and you should be able to stay for nothing because, you work for a hotel chain.
Try to figure it out to where they send you there during, whatever that started, August.
So I actually debated that myself. Hopefully nobody I work with watches. But I'm like, I could swing making a trip up to our DC. Yeah, because it's in Indy, right?
Yeah.
I can make a trip to our DC in Indy and like get them to like cover that.
You almost did that for WrestleMania, didn't you? Like you could have. Right?
I was in.
You were in there.
Yeah, I had no idea because I had kind of fallen out of wrestling, and so I had no idea. And I get to the airport and there's literally WrestleMania stuff everywhere, and I like look it up and I'm like, holy crap! It was Philly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Philly. And I'm like, I should have stayed the weekend and gone to WrestleMania. Like, anyway.
An hour away is not too bad. You can definitely do it. It's doable.
Okay, so.
Next up's another one for me. So this is a Gentle Rain. I feel like I've talked about this one the last 3 months. But really, the main reason this one got played was because I went on my vacation last month. And this is a very small box game that I was actually able to put into a deck box with another game. And so it's just super portable. At the end of the day, we were out walking all the time, and you get super tired. You don't want to play something, you don't want to do anything too heavy. You just kind of want to relax. So, when we're watching TV there, it's not really anything that I'm interested in. It's like your telenovelas or like your Spanish game shows and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't care about any of this. So I'm able to just kind of sit at the table. So in a gentle rain, you have these little tiles, and you're just trying to put them in fours, and inside you're going to try to make a little circle, which you're then going to try to put these little flowers in there. There's 8 flowers. Once you have them all placed, that kind of triggers the end of the game. And then there is scoring, but honestly you don't have to do the scoring. But it's basically, if you have all 8 of them and no tiles left, you get 8 points. If you have all 8 in there and you have 2 tiles left, it's 10 points, and it just kind of builds up from there. Honestly, it's just a good way to kind of wind down and relax. And I've said it before, it's kind of more of just like this puzzly, spatial awareness kind of thing. The one thing that gets me in this game is the purple flower, the blue flower, and the dark blue flower, and then the orange and the red flower. Those colors are very, very similar. And so when you're playing at night, you have to really kind of like, is this what it is? I think this is it. And then once you've placed it and you realize 10 minutes later that those are not the same color, kind of messes up your game. But I don't know if that's just the print that I have or what, but that's the only gripe, and it's really just a minor complaint. But Gentle Rain is a fun relaxation game.
Okay. Cacao.
1 hour travel like a true Texan. Very true.
Yeah, Cacao. I played Cacao. I think it's Phil Walker Harding, I think. But it's a little tile placement game where you're basically trying to get these cacao beans and sell them for the most money. It's most money at the end of the game wins. Honestly, played this with Lacey, and both of us very much like this game. I actually played another tile placement game yesterday with her. We played lanterns, and we both walked away being like, cacao is way better than that. It was kind of like our thought, like if I was going to play one
Did you play with your little promo cards?
Those two. That's lantern dice.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, yeah, we were just like, oh, that cacao is much more fun. But anyway, I don't know what it is. Lacey just beat me straight up 3 times in a row. I kept trying different things, and I just kept losing. But I don't know. I thought it was really neat. When you play a tile, it's really hard to explain unless you see it. But you're basically... you can play tiles in certain spots, and then certain spots get filled with like this kind of the actions in between. And your tiles have workers on them, and they all have 4 workers. So the workers could be 1 on each direction. That's the most common tile you got. Or it could be 2, 1, 1, or it could be 3 and 1 and 2 sides blank. And so I thought that just, as simple as that was, it had enough little decisions to make it fun. Games, every single one of the plays took 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
And then that was it. And literally setup was nothing. So we'll definitely be playing this one again.
Yeah, that's one that since we got it, I want to say it was either the first or the second haul, but we got it quite a while ago. It is one that always caught my eye, and I'm glad that you are enjoying it, because I feel like then I will enjoy this game too. So.
Yeah, Pat, so no, this was not any kind of engine building, but there is an expansion that is the chocolate expansion, where it does let you turn the beans into chocolate and then sell them for more.
Pat, I think you might be talking about Dolce, something like that. I think that's a engine builder chocolating game.
Yeah, this was not engine building in the slightest. So. Circadians. Yeah, I played Circadians. How did I get it? Oh, I bought Circadians, right? Somebody on Facebook Marketplace was selling it for, I can't even remember, relatively cheap. And so I got it, and because I got it, I wanted to play it, because Paul owns this. And so it's one I've only soloed one time. And I like it. I played... What did I tell you? Did I play the hard?
You played the Dyad Alliance, and I think you played the hard.
Yeah, I think I played hard. I didn't want to play the hardest, but I played the hard.
Yeah, the insane.
And it was good. The 2 people that I picked, I did when you get a dice, You can automatically roll it and place it in farms.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
And then the other was, I don't remember. Don't remember what the other one was. Oh, the other was moving your harvester.
At the end of every round?
At the end of the round.
How do you feel about that one?
I think it's so strong, and I misplayed it.
Really?
Yeah.
So so if you don't know anything about First Light, it's a dice worker placement game. We've talked about it before. But basically, you have this board, and you roll your dice at the beginning of the round, and then you pre-plan in what order you're going to play them. And then the bot in the solo mode, they always go first, unless you go to the headquarters. But for the most part, they're always going first. So they have the opportunity to block maybe what you were planning. One of the actions you do is a harvester. And what I was going to say and the harvester is how you move. So at the end of the round, those are the resources that you gather. I always tend to camp out my space in a harvester, right? So like the first round or two, I move to either the algae and the energy, the water and the energy, or just the algae and the water. Like it's one of those spaces that I move to, and I generally just camp out there. And that's the strategy that I use for the entire game. So I've always wondered if that harvester, like 2 or 3 rounds, you get to where you kind of want to be, and then you don't generally want to move more.
Yeah, so I do the same thing when I'm playing any other person. The biggest benefit with that is you can just start cleaning up red gems. So basically, you're constantly moving around the map, collecting red gems. All the red gems you're going to be getting are also going to be on bigger valued stuff anyway, and so that's how you play that, right? But yeah, otherwise, there's really not a reason to constantly be moving every turn unless you just really need to pivot to something. But yeah, that's how you play that one. And so like I was negotiating for red gems, and that was my source of getting the red gems.
Yes, Pat, this was the one that I soloed. I think I soloed it last week. Yeah, it was last Friday when Devin was at the convention. Yeah, it's interesting because like, I don't know, we talked about it a little bit. I feel like the solo in this game, I don't know if it's the best solo that Garfield has, but it's pretty high up there at one of their solos, I feel like, because it does a really good job at blocking and gaining resources and gaining dice when it needs to. Like, just the way that it flows, it does it really well. And just with 2 actions, you know, possibly 3 if it gets that 3rd upgrade. I don't know, I think it does a really good job at it. And there was a couple times in my playthrough where it was just like, that's where I was going to go negotiate. Now I can't. Let me completely change my game plan up. So.
Yeah, I didn't build a single farm in this game because 2 times it went to the farms. It like hardly ever goes there, right?
Yeah.
And the one, and you have to have the matching dice. And so the first time was like round 2. I had the dice to go there. It went there. And then again, it was like round 5, right? Pretty late in the game.
Very late.
And I'm going to go again, and it goes there again. So I built 0 farms.
I guess at that point also, like, since you do have that harvester, you're most likely at the more expensive or at the more resource generating one, so it's not going to hurt you too bad.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool because I basically was making sure I was early in the game. I actually never had 5 dice in the game.
Okay.
I played dice down the whole time. But it's because I was getting all of my dice from, I basically was taking up all the get the dice spots because I could roll the dice and then get a resource from it. So
yeah, that makes sense.
It was cool. I liked the combo that I had there.
Yeah, it's a good one, and I've got some more things to say about it, but I'll save it for next month.
Yeah. Evacuation. This one I did. It was my first solo stream or second. I can't remember.
Second, I think Scholars was your first.
No, it would have been Ezra and Nehemiah or
that's
this.
Right. Ezra was first.
But yeah, Evacuation, really neat engine building game where you start with a fully functioning engine, you tear it apart, and then you try and rebuild it. I thought this game was really cool. There is so many mechanics in this game that I just really liked, and there's not a lot of mechanics in this game. It's honestly very limited in the actions that you're doing. But I will say, the thing I didn't like about this, and I actually was just talking to Paul about this, This game is one where it's modular and you add things. So I played all in on solo. There was basically, I don't know how many modules, but I played every module I could except for 2 that you have to play with people. Because I would much rather a game be like, here's the base game, right? You can play this. It doesn't have these components. That's perfectly fine when games do that. And then here's the full game, right? And everything's thrown in. I don't want it to be, you could add the contract or the goal cards, or you could add the advanced actions, or you could add the area control, or you could add whatever. I just want it to be as simple as, here's base game, it's kind of stripped down, learn it, play it a couple times this way, and then play the full one. Anyway, I played it. I really, I don't remember if I won or not, but
You did. You crushed it.
I crushed it. Yeah, heck yeah, I remember.
I remember this vividly. You looked at the rule book and said, it says about 60 points is good.
Oh, that's right. I did crush this one. I had some cool goals that just worked really well. But yeah, this one, it was a good game. But I was saying I really like that satellite track thing, and how if you do a lot of actions, you move your satellite really far, which lets you get to place in better areas, but the penalize comes and you don't get the end of round bonuses. Okay. And so like there's this balance. I can have this really killer round and I can do a ton of stuff and it really sets me up to go place in cool places. But Paul doesn't do that, and he gets a whole bunch of free resources and free actions. And so I think that's just really cool. And I can see there being advantages to going both ways, right?
So I was kind of in and out of your playthrough when you were watching this one. And that was actually the one thing that I was unsure of, what this kind of satellite thing was. Because I remember tuning in like towards the end and you were like, oh, if I'm not ahead of it at the end, I can do this extra building or something, stadium action, something like that. And that was like the one part that I was like, that looks really cool, like whatever that mechanic is, but I'm not 100% sure how it works.
Yeah, so it's just every action you do has an amount of action points associated with it, and there's a end of round card that basically says if you have done 7 or less action points, you get this big bonus. If you've done 10 or less, you get this medium bonus. If you've done 11 or more, you get nothing type of thing. So, like, you know, typically I'm a min-maxer and I'm going to do as many actions as possible, but I played a strategy where I just did
the base,
fewer, beefier actions type of thing.
That's cool.
So, yeah, I really liked it. Don't know that I would ever play the solo again. I would much rather just play this with a person, because the solo doesn't literally do anything. It clears. Like you're not even competing on a score, right? It's just a
high score
ranking of these are tiers, but like all the solo is there to do is clear off stuff to help you cycle, so you see stuff, and then be a little bit competitive in that middle track.
The satellite. Yeah. Also, F in the chat for Pat, dropping all of his stuff. Hope you find it.
Bright side. Hotels normally have that stupid bumper underneath the bed, so like
so that people aren't hiding under.
He doesn't have to like crawl way under some nasty hotel bed to get a couple chins
to get your burn tokens. Ezra and Nehemiah, this is you.
This is another one. This was the first solo stream, and if you haven't been watching, I've been doing solo streams every week. You should tune in because they're awesome. Even if this last one I was feeling a bit down on, they're still awesome. But Ezra and Nehemiah, I'm not going to talk about this much because I think we talked about it like 2 months in a row now, 3 months now. It's a good game by Garfield. I played this solo, and I think it was relatively close. I then actually played this solo a couple days later. It also took me a while on stream, and I'm like, why did it take so long? Because I've been playing, and I'm like, should be in this time frame, and I don't know. I think I played dang near 3 hours, right? 2.5. I'm like, why did that take so long? So I played it again a couple days later. One, completely wrecked the bot, and I played on the harder difficulty. And two, it took me a fraction of the time.
That's
so
crazy.
That's why I was just like, okay, it's about streaming and having to talk things out, because there is a lot of that mental stuff where you would just do it, right? Like, I know that in this case, right? Like, I know I have these cards in my hand, so I'm going to play this and then I'm going to play this. But when I'm on stream, I have to talk that out on the reasoning why. I'm going to play this card first because it lets me do this trade, and then I'm holding this card, so I'll be able to take advantage of this thing. So you have to you have to talk out the things that you normally would just look at, interpret quickly in your mind, and do. Anyway, I can't remember between the two playthroughs, but I think the second one I went heavy in the blue track, like super, super heavy, and I completely crushed the
I think
bot.
that's what you've basically said. Like, blue is... I think you have to do some type of blue.
I think no matter what, you have to do some sort of blue because you need the benefits to make your red better or to make your gray better. But there was just benefits that compounded on blue, and and then flipping tiles. I flipped, I think, 4 of my 5 tiles the first round of play.
Yeah.
And then got the last one, so I was able to get the lady on the left there that...
The singer, maybe?
Or which one are you left? Yeah, on the left there. She's the one. She's the terrible card. She's one of each color, but she's the one for development tiles. So I was able to get her out of my deck right away.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. It's a fun game.
That's a good one. I like it. Another one for you.
I know.
Actually, this is gonna be a lot of Devin.
Yeah, because Paul was in Ecuador. Hadrian's Wall. I've been cranking through the campaign. I think this was number 13, because I just recently played 14, I believe. So I have 2 games left. I am almost done with ever playing Hadrian's Wall again.
And just as you said that, they just announced that Anarchy is coming to Kickstarter in September. So, and that one comes with a campaign in the box.
So, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a month off. I could have finished in September, and then, their things fill in like 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, I think it's in like March.
Have our 8 or 9 months, but still, I'll finish in October, and then. But yeah, I've been doing it once a month, going through all the forts. So I did Fort 13. One of my highest scores, or no, I barely made this one. I made it. This was the 2-pick attack, or an extra pick attack every single time. But I did it. Yeah, good game. Good. We talked about a lot. Solo. And then this. Actually, funny story about this. I'm bougie. I have a sauna in my garage,
in Texas with a sauna. Actually, I wish I had one, so.
I started playing this in the sauna. It's great. Did it again this week. Did it a couple times last month.
Do you have them laminated? Because if it was me, this would get wrecked immediately.
No, it gets super sweaty. Like, but who cares? Like, I don't know. It's piece of paper. Like,
yeah,
who cares?
You're right.
Honestly, one of my plays, like, the part was so sweaty that it was actually just like tearing through, but it was like I'm circling, so who cares? Like, you can
so just like, this is it.
Yeah, you can
barf.
You can still see the same thing. But yeah, this has become my sauna game, and it's actually like upped my taking saunas, because I'm like,
oh man,
I can go in there and sit for 30, 40 minutes and play Imperial Settlers Roll and Ride.
Even deal with that.
Yeah, and it's sweet because there's like, it's just the paper. Like, there's nothing that...
It's a paper that's on a die.
Yeah, there's nothing like that's a board that's going to get wet or, warped.
Yeah, and if the paper gets messed up, it's one and done.
It's
anyway.
A one-time use. Like, I'm literally doing it for that play anyway, and then I'm totally done.
I'm going to play a board game.
No. Lacey's.
I was gonna say Lacey is
super
a saint.
Cool. Yeah, Lacey is super cool. She's super chill. Also,
Lacey is a saint.
Lacey and I are very independent people, right? Like, neither of us are the type of people that like,
Oh man,
know,
I'm like sweating.
you know,
Laughing.
oh, where are you going? I'm just going to the bathroom. Oh, okay, hurry back. We're not that type of people at all, so it has no problem for me. Like, she just knows, hey, I'm getting in
You're
the
doing
sauna,
something.
or so I'm codependent. That's the same thing, right?
Yes, Pat.
Yeah, so anyway, Lacey is a complete saint, but yeah, I just go get in the sauna and I play Imperial Settlers. So I'm cranking through this
That's
campaign
awesome.
now.
Isn't there like 40?
There's 48,
Yeah.
and I think I'm on 13 or 14. So I got plenty of sauna sessions to go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's Imperial Settlers. Rolling right. Mage Knight, had a blast. So I played this one because Joe said he had played Mage
Oh yeah,
Knight.
he had texted us in the group chat. Was like, I just got crushed.
Yeah, and I'm
think.
like, oh man, I need to play some Mage Knight. So I can't remember. I think it was a Sunday. So I set it up, and I basically played. Whoa, dog's hitting the lights there. I basically played all day long.
Have fun, Pat.
Right. I would just look at my hand of cards, and then I would be thinking about it as I was like doing dishes or I was doing stuff. And then I'd come over here and like once I kind of knew what I was gonna do, I'd do the actions, draw my next hand, know what I have, think about it, and so the session took forever. Right, it was probably an 8-hour session by the time I like actually.
But playing was just
But I never actually like sat down and played. It's because I just had it up until the end. Actually, once I got to the 6th round, I basically played that one straight up. And yeah, Mage Knight, complete blast. And I ended up winning a game that I probably win a quarter of the time. Right, this one is very hard, and you have to play very optimally. And I won, so it was a fun one. I took a bunch of wounds right at the beginning, but it made it worth it because I got like a whole bunch of stuff, but I also got like healing stuff, and so then because I had healing cards in my deck. It became I never really cared about taking wounds anymore, and so like it's like, well, of course I'll take wounds because I can heal them. So anyway, what I love the most about Mage Knights is combat is completely deterministic. Like before you even attack something, I'm taking 4 wounds from this, right? Like there's no randomness. It's just it straight up, and so I like that, and because then I knew like, oh, I'm gonna take this many wounds, but I got a card that can heal it later on. So anyway,
I think it's so funny that because this is the second time that I've heard you say that you just have the game set up and you look at it and then you go about your day thinking about stuff and then you come back to it. You said that I think with Ezra and Nehemiah, where you just like
I've done
played
that
it.
before.
I think in like 2 days or something like that. You're like, I'll just do this move and then I'll go off and come back and just kind of zip through it and then I'll go off and think about it. And I think that's super funny because for me, I would forget immediately. I would have to take a picture of the board and go sit somewhere and stare at it.
I think I can visualize things pretty well.
Yeah,
right?
I
That's
feel
why
like
I
you
can
can.
like listen to board games when I run and that kind of stuff.
And we've talked about it before with like, hey, do you remember that gameplay? And you're like, yes, the game state was this, this, and this, and this. And I'm like,
Yeah, like I can just visualize.
don't remember that
Like-
whatsoever.
I'll listen to a lot of playthroughs of games that I've seen, like I've either already played or I've seen already before, because as long as they're talking out what they're doing, I know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that was Mage Knight.
And then we
Meadow
played
Downstream.
Meadow. So this is actually the downstream expansion. This was a cool one. You just kind of randomly came over. We had a free Wednesday night or Tuesday night, and it was actually like the night before school started, and for me at least. And Lacey was out of town, and you were just like, "Hey, I'm just gonna come over. We're gonna record a couple things, and let's play a board game." So we got a Meadow to the table. Meadow is an absolutely beautiful tableau building game where you have a bunch of cards and they're all different things that you would find out in the meadow. So you have kind of like your bases, so that's like your trees, your mushrooms, your all this kind of stuff. Then you have things that go on top of that, like your critters or your birds. And so you're just playing these cards on top of each other and then just gaining victory points. Each card kind of has victory points on there. And then the downstream expansion just adds aquatic parts to it. and then just this little kind of river track on there. We've talked about this one before. I absolutely love just everything about it. My favorite thing about this game, though, is the card selection method, right? You have this little wooden pointer token, and then on the board where all the cards are at, you've got little cutouts where these wooden tokens go. And the tokens are numbered 1 through 4. And if you place your 1, you're getting the first one that is nearest to that token. If you place the 4, you're getting the one in the 4th row away. And there's so many different of those cutouts that you can kind of manipulate where you're drawing the card from. So I don't know. Meadow is just a really great game. I really enjoyed it. I think this might be one of the first times you played the Downstream expansion. Not the first time, but definitely one of the first times that you've done it.
First in a while. Honestly, so I was actually thinking about this on my drive back, right? And I like what the expansion adds as far as the track part of it. What I realized I don't like as much is it actually opens up the game more and makes it less tight, right? So when you talk about the action selection, normally the game gets very tight in, oh man, you took this one and I can't get it from there. But because I know that they add an extra one of your things, but because you can, like in our play, you were putting your wild over there, that means the wild is not over in the main area. And I don't think I necessarily liked that. I wish it would stay tighter, right? I like that part of it, like having to, prioritize
which card
what cards to get. Like there was, truly throughout our entire play, there was only one time where I was truly locked out of a card that was like, I want that card. And so I think it really, I'll call it discredited the
action selection method.
The bottom actions, like the one that you pick any card from. We didn't use that a single time, and I know for sure I have used that one frequently, knowing I have to get this. So anyway, just a little nitpick about the expansion in general is that I didn't like that it was not as tight.
Yeah, that actually that tracks. That makes a lot of sense because they did add the extra one, but you're right. Instead of
if you put your wild over there,
then
right? Or if I put my wild over there, then it's definitely wide open. So anyway, just a minor
Meadow
minor
Downstream
thing.
though. Honestly, like if you're not a fan of Meadow, it's not going to fix the game.
It's not. It's still Meadow.
It's still Meadow.
It's Meadow with more. Right?
That's if you like Meadow, this will definitely add. I think it'll add to the enjoyment of the game. I don't know. Yeah, I would play. Anytime I play Meadow, I would add the Downstream expansion, mainly because there are a couple cards that get integrated into the decks. So to be able to like separate them,
at this point,
it's just
absolutely.
It's too hard to do that and add the ones back in and takes them out. It is a bit of a table hog, but honestly, it looks so good, and I think it's just such a good game. I'm glad we got it played.
Yeah, absolutely.
My first Castle Panic. So at the beginning of the month, it was my daughter's birthday, and I was super excited to buy her a board game, and this is the one that I ended up selecting. So my first Castle Panic is based on Castle Panic, which is a cooperative, I guess it's a tower defense. I don't know if it's tower. Yeah, they're trying to come in and you're trying to defend your castle, right? So in the normal game, you have these cards with a bunch of text for the actions, and those are the actions that you play. In the My First version, there's this little track that leads up to your castle, and on every space there's a different color and shape. So it could be a green circle, a red, a square, a blue triangle, or any variation of that. So your hands, you have these shapes, and you have these little orcs and trolls and stuff, and if they're on a shape that matches the card that you have, you can play that, and then you can remove it from the track and send it into the dungeon. So it's just a really good game for kids to play because they can associate those colors and shapes, and they can play it. On their turn, there's only 2 actions. It's either playing a card from your hand or asking for help, which is actually playing somebody else's card, right? So let's say I had one that was on there. She could say, oh, can I play your blue square? And be like, yeah, of course. And then they can play it. So it was a ton of fun. She absolutely loved it. The dungeon is part of the box, and inside of there's like a little image of a swamp. There's like a little chains in there, and she's like, oh, the troll's going to the chains. Let's throw them in the dungeon. So got super into it, and then actually asked to play it like back to back like 2 times. So I was just like, this is amazing. This is what I want. And it was an awesome, fun game to play.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Now or never. Oh, Lacey and I played this. I was like, I was gonna do this solo.
You played this earlier,
and I
I
was like, and I don't remember doing this solo. This was honestly because Lacey and I have been doing our like family game night, and really it's to incorporate Luna just sitting here at this table playing games. Actually, I'll talk about. So it was Cacao. I started laying out components, and normally she sits here in the middle, I sit on this side, and I sit on this side. And so whatever we have, like you start with 3 tiles, I give her a set, right? And so she picked up on the word tile, right? And she's like, daddy tile, mommy tile, Luna tile. And she starts going, Luke tile, Luke tile, Luke tile. Luke's our 6-month-old, right? And so I had to give her 3 tiles, and she went and put them like over on this corner spot here because. And I realized now, Lacey was the one that pointed out, we normally put Luke in like a chair. He wasn't. We were still setting up, so he wasn't there yet. But we put Luke in a chair like right there, and so she had put 3 tiles there for Luke to play with us.
So she knows the dynamics of family game night now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that, she's got some OCD tendencies for sure. But that is my spot. This is mommy's spot. This is Luna's spot.
That's Luke's spot.
Look, the first family game night was El Dorado, and still every time we're like, we're gonna play a game, she runs over here and grabs this or starts touching this El Dorado box. We played other games now, 6, 7 other games, and she's still
like, this one.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we play. Oh, so. We missed our family game night, so we're like, oh, we'll push it. We kept pushing it back in the week, and it became a Saturday, and so it got late. We're like, we'll do it tonight. Well, it got late, so we put the kids to bed, and we're like, well, we were going to play a game.
Let's play a 3-hour one.
Yeah, Lacey loved this game, and I'm like, well, let's play Now or Never. So we did. I think we picked the first scenario. I can't remember. Yeah, we did pick the first scenario. Just have fun playing it. We played the 2 characters that we had not played. So
when you played the red robot? No.
She played the red robot, and I played the blue guy during the campaign. So she played, I think the 2 people you played.
The one that Kirsten and I played,
She played the lady with the singing
That's who Kirsten
sword.
was, yep.
And I played the magic guy. And yeah, it was good. Lacey completely destroyed me. Not completely destroyed me. The game was actually very close. What she destroyed me on was, because she remembered the mechanics of the game, you have the like group of villagers you can choose from, right? And they don't refresh.
Yeah.
Right? And I can't remember. We got a bunch of not hatchet, tool. What was the tool? Maybe it was a hatchet. I can't remember. Whatever the tool was. In the beginning, right? So we both had to take those. She refreshed, and there was 2 crystals, and she immediately took both crystals instead of getting a set at that time, which would have been the more logical thing, like, oh, her to complete a set. She took both crystals. We then went basically the entire game, not seeing any other crystals till the last round, and it was during a time which she reset and she took that, so I had no crystals.
Crushed you out of the,
So
locked you out of them.
yeah, so you score points for having sets in the different rows, and I couldn't have a set because I did not get a single crystal through villagers, and it was a smart play by her completely, to know, like, it would have been so much better for her to take, like, in the immediate, to take a crystal and the demon thing, but taking those 2 crystals, knowing they were the rare ones.
Instead, she denied you the points instead of gaining the points.
Yeah, well, no. She got the demon later. It wasn't an immediate, the immediate reward of this is much better right now. She played the long game on me. And so.
So I think, go ahead.
And so she ended up, the score was relatively close, because I had built a good economy otherwise. But, yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Did you guys do any of the narratives or any of the quests?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because that was, when we played through this, me and my wife played through the campaign, and then you and Lacey played through the campaign, and we had seen the scores, and y'all scores were like double ours, and come to find out, like, it was mainly because we had done tons of the story. And
yeah, so there becomes a part where you don't, right? Like, halfway, I think it's 4 rounds, halfway through the game, you just stop like, you're not getting anything from that, right? There's really, I see it as like 2 real paths of, you either need to, the beginning you're kind of doing quests because it gives you little stuff or whatnot, but you either need to build up to where you can fight monsters, and then that's how you get tons of villagers, by being able to fight the big monsters, or you build up your point engine through the buildings that you build and the placement of stuff like that. Honestly, I had said, when we had played it, and it actually stood true, because all the stories, the 6 chapters, are segmented, you can really just pick up and play any one, right?
Well, that's what I was gonna. When you said that you had played the first scenario, I know there's like a non-scenario.
Yeah, so you can just play with the tokens, and that's what I've talked about on the solo. I've been mentioning. I'm not sure if I will do that, or I might just pick one of the random ones and do it and just read the story. It won't add that much time.
Yeah, Now or Never is a terrific game. It's in that same Arzium universe. Sleeping Gods, actually that one's not in the Arzium universe, but Above and Below, Near and Far. Just a fun little world that he has built.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know, we love this one. It's so much fun to build your economy and reap the benefits. Actually, the scoring of it, I think, is the best mechanic. You reset everything to 0 at the end of the game, and so you then run your resource engine, or your resource production, and that becomes your base score. And I think that's such a clever way to do it. Like, yeah, you can save up stuff all game long, but that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Right?
It's going away.
How good did you build your production? So I really think that scoring is just so clever. So that was Never Never. Quacks, talking about a family game night, really simple game of Quacks. We played with... what expansion do I have? I have the Alchemist, right? Okay. So you have the Herb Witches that adds another element, but it also adds more variety into the tiles. And then you have the Alchemist that adds a whole nother board. I've said before, I will never not play with the Alchemist because it actually, to me, adds some depth to the game beyond just drawing tiles out of a bag and potentially blowing up. Lacey ran away with this game, and then we realized we misplayed her ability. You get a starter ability with the Alchemist. We misplayed it, and it made sense on why, like...
She ran away with it?
Yeah, I was like, you were freaking crushing me.
It's like when you crushed her in Cubitos.
Yeah, same type of thing, right? And she was like, it's this thing, it's so good, And I'm like, yeah, I don't, like, mine is not that good, And then we, like, reread it, and we're like, Oh, okay. So it was a minor mistake, but whatever. We had fun. It's just I was definitely it. First and foremost, Quacks already has a runaway leader problem. So compound that with one of the people cheating, and like I was out of it, by round 5 of 9.
So you had mentioned before, I think you'd mentioned before that Cubitos would replace Quacks, right? Do you still feel that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think Cubitos. Yeah, I think Cubitos is better. Lacey likes them both. Here's the thing. Like,
I personally like them both as well.
Right,
I think, and I know it's the same thing, but I've said I just like the drawing of the bag. Like, that's just much better for me than just rolling the dice in front of you. Like, yeah, rolling dice is cool, but like going in a bag is cool too. So I don't know. I know it's the same, but it just feels different enough.
They're both like I guess my thinking is, besides having us recently started doing family game nights, I'm not huge on family weight games, right?
Yeah.
It's not like these are never going to be my favorite ones by any means. But Lacey is, right? So, right, I had said I think Cubitos replaces Quest for El Dorado. It replaces Quacks, right? But to Lacey, that's like 3 games that she'd play any time, And so we'll keep all 3 and we'll play all 3 relatively regularly, and I'll have fun playing them. But yeah, so those Quacks. Speaking of Quest for El Dorado, so Luna, had been grabbing or pointing to it. So one of them, Lacey was like, "Let's play it again."
Just do it.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to, and so I had recently went to BGG because we had played so much and found like where people had pre-made maps.
Oh yeah.
And so we're just kind of going through different ones, and they use every tile.
That's
and they use them in really clever ways. The first one we did, whenever last month or the month before, it actually had a split path. This one was just like freaking long map. But I think this one had a major focus in swimming, if I remember right. Like if you didn't have swimming in your deck, you were taking a very long way around. It's crazy how clever people are with these whatever.
I was going to say, that's pretty good
tiles.
that you can make that, because when we just did it just randomly that one day, right? Like that was just a terrible map.
Yeah, it ended up being a bad map.
So like the fact that people can actually like, this is a water-based map, or this is a forest map, or this, like, that's pretty cool that people can just like specialize it like that, and you can kind of decide what you want based on whatever the map is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was one of those, when me and you played, it was a complete runaway.
Complete runaway.
Ours was not. It was a one-turn win, right? Yeah. We might have even went to the tiebreaker, which is like the collected strips or whatnot. But yeah, it was a very close match. Scholars. Oh, I soloed. Yep. Did this solo stream. I think it's a good game. It's Scholars is one that I was super unsure about in the beginning, and then it was as soon as I realized
the epic game,
stuff pays out. That's the best way to put it, right? You're
just always unsatisfied before.
Yeah, your tucked translators didn't really ever pay out to me in the casual game, and they do in the epic game. It's 4 extra cards. It's really not all that many in the grand scheme of things, but that is enough that makes long-term strategies pay off. And I had played it solo the first time and realized, oh, this is good. Played it with you and realized, okay, yeah, I do enjoy this game. It's the epic game that I really enjoy. I have this feeling about a lot of games, but this is, while this solo is good and it's smart, I would just rather play this game with people. The solo, there's nothing wrong with it. This is, I think, one of Garfield's better solos for sure. But this is one I would just rather play with people.
I think the player interaction in this game is pretty high. I mean, it really depends on like that. Like I can look at your board and see what you need, and I can influence a card based on what you need, right? Like the bot's just going to randomly influence a card that's out there. The translators that you're getting, I might actually use those, right? The bot's just going to kind of get a random one out there. So even though it is doing the same things that a player would, it's doing them for really no reason. And so when you're actually playing with a real person, like for the most part, you're gonna know what they're gonna get, or you're gonna know what they need, and you can kind of block them ahead of time, right? And I think that's what a game like this, a game like Wayfarers, Ezra and Nehemiah, like all those, there's a little bit of reaction that you have to do to the game, and although the AI is going to do something, it's not really reacting to what you're doing. Right?
Yeah, and then I struggle with, in any of the multiplayer games, there are starting translators that are neutral.
Yeah.
And anybody can use them, right? In this, the AI gets all the neutral translators. And so it's very punishing to you to use the neutral. And so like when that third Caliph card comes out and the fourth Caliph card comes out and it feels even more neutral, that are really made to balance the ending of the game, because they're ones that help you get to Arabic if you don't have other ways. You can't use those, and you have to then have had that yourself, and you can't.
Yeah.
Whereas in the multiplayer game, knowing that basically the two Arabic are going to come out and they're going to be neutral, so really it's more or less a race of you getting to use them, because they're going on the
final chance,
right, and they're going on the leftmost, so they're going to be able to take a lot of gold, so everybody will get to use them. In this, it's like, well, it came out, but I actually don't want to use it because
it's helping him.
Yeah, it's a complete. So I don't know. That alone is enough for me to be like, I don't really. I feel like the neutral translators is such a big mechanic in the game, and the solo makes that detrimental, right? So, yeah.
Well, what's good to know about this is that you do enjoy the Epic game. I know when Inventors come out, they have the same kind of thing. They have a quick gameplay and then a more advanced one where I think it takes out a round, or it gives you a starting tile or something like that. So definitely good to know going into that game. So I know the first couple times we'll play it will probably be the basic one, just to kind of get the mechanics, but then actually dive into the harder one quicker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think we played the casual one 3 times, 4 times or something like that.
I think so. I want to say it was 4 full playthroughs of the casual. Really,
we knew the game after the first one, right? Didn't add anything else.
Yeah.
So, I think that's the way to go.
So, okay.
Shipwrights. This one was me. So, Shipwrights, we've talked about it before. This is just a really fun card drafting tableau builder game. I got to play it solo. We've talked about the solo in this game not being the best. It's literally just going to score 60 to 70 points, somewhere in there, based on if you are playing just the base game. Now, there are nemesis and stuff like that, which will raise the score up, or it will make it harder to get different buildings out there and stuff like that. But really, the AI on this one is just there. Kind of thing. But I really enjoy it. I really enjoy this game. I like the drafting that the game has done, where you have 4 cards at first, you keep 2 of them, you discard those, you get 3, you keep 2, something like that. 5, maybe the first time. I like the draft at 2 players also, because it uses kind of the same mechanic. And it's just a way to cycle through those cards, because this game has a stack of cards thick. And every time I've played it, I've gone through more than half of the deck, which I really enjoy, because a game like Ark Nova that has that thick deck, you might not go through all of them, right? You could just kind of leave it set up, and then the next time you play it, just play with the ones from last time, right? So this one, at least you can kind of cycle through the deck. I remember in this gameplay, I was able to get out a ton of buildings up at first, which really helped me with that resource production. And then at the end, that let me really go into getting a lot more of those ships And I want to say, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm looking right now at my plays. Where is it? I know it's in here. Yeah, I ended up beating this one pretty good. I think this was my best score that I ever had. I got a 74 on it. AI had 67. Like I said, it's going to score between that 60 to 70 range. But I was able to get 64, and that was just, or I'm sorry, 74, and that was from all the buildings, and then just throwing all those resources into the ships at the end. So I was really happy with that, and I really enjoyed that strategy. This one to me is similar to like a Feast for Odin, where I'm gonna play the solo to explore different ways to play the game. Now I know it's different than a Feast for Odin because every card that you draw is going to be completely different from time to time, but it's just a nice little way to just kind of like, okay, let me try to build out buildings first and then go for the ships, or let me try to tuck a bunch of these laborers or crafters, whatever they're called, or let me just try to go for small point ships from the beginning. So just different ways to do different strategies, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Steve? Appreciate you joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Steve.
So my question to you is, so this last round you had was very good. Do you think you'll find yourself upset if next time, first round of the game, you've got nothing that really gets an engine jumping?
So, yes and no, right? I have to take this game. If I were playing Feast for Odin and that were to happen, I would be upset, right? Because that game state doesn't change whatsoever, right? For shipwrights, I know that the first 6 cards that I draft are not going to be the same as last time, and that is just the cards that I have, right? So I'm just dealing with what I have at the moment.
But I guess my thing is like, because you'll know, right? So you just scored 78. Mm-hmm. Next time you play, doesn't fall right, you're going to score 49, right?
True.
Yeah. Like, and that's my problem with it.
There's no consistency.
I've had a game where everything fell right. I got tons of generating stuff, or good buildings to place, and I got the workers and whatever. Everything felt right. And then at the end of the game, I was drawing the points cards, right? And if those ever flipped and I got all the points cards in the beginning and then all the generating stuff at the end, right? Like, to me, it's like, it was stupid. Like, I would be upset, like, because I had no control over that, right? True. Like,
so yes, I see your point there. And if you're playing with other people, your scores should be generally the same, because
you're drafting,
it's all correct. The same cards, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I see your point there. You can't really compare it to your other game because it's a completely different game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that kind of goes back to like my original thought of, though, is like, I might be upset, but also I just have to realize it's a completely different one.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's why the Autumn on this one, the score doesn't matter. Because it's score. Yeah, because it is the same game every time.
Yeah, the score does not in the slightest. So, okay. Over to the river. This is a game we got in one of the halls and one of our family game nights. Lacey, no, this wasn't a family game night. This was actually a random Saturday. Lacey was just like, "You want to play a game?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm like looking, and I'm like, I think this will take 30, 45 minutes. I open up the rule book and it's like a few pages. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I can learn this pretty quick. It was an okay game. I'm not gonna say this was a great game by any means. This was an okay game. Honestly, it was like, in no way was gameplay the same, but comparing it to Evacuation, it is neat in that you start with a fully running engine, and you're placing tiles over. Actually, it reminded me a lot of Three Ring Circus that you recently played. You're placing tiles over stuff that then you lose a worker, right? Okay. So you got actions less, right? Mm-hmm. Or you're now not producing, and so you have to build engine-y stuff yourself, right? Kind of like the Ring Circus, where you could, get you an extra money or whatever you put on top. But you're definitely covering up engine spaces on. I think the theme is like your pioneers settling along a river, and so you have this like river, and so the first tile you place goes here, and it follows this river path. It was a little worker placement game where basically it was going and getting resources or getting the tiles to then build for there. Very simple. After playing it once, I could probably teach it and play it again. But actually, grab it really quick. I'll tell you the most interesting.
Where is it?
It's right there next to Memoir
Oh,
44.
I see. Okay.
Actually, the most interesting part of the whole thing, it had the most deluxe, nice components of any game I had ever played, and I'm like, this is not right. What the heck? This makes no sense. And I figured it out shortly after. It was a couple days after, right? But it has all these nice, not that stuff. I'm not talking about that. These resources. Look, it has these nice, you know what they are.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it has these nice brick resources and it has these nice wood resources, right? And I'm like, why does this game have these like nice, chunky, detailed resources? Turns out, in this same hall, I got Stonemeyer's like treasure chest or whatever it's called, right? And it's their advanced resources. And this guy decided this was the game to use those resources on.
These aren't yours?
Do what?
These aren't the ones that you have from the Stonemeyer box?
I did not put they are from that same Stonemeyer box. I did not put these resources in this game. They were in it when we played it. Right?
I thought you were going to say you accidentally, like you just threw those in these boxes.
No. For whatever reason, that guy got that Stonemeyer treasure chest or upgraded resource chest, and he thought, I know the perfect game for this, and it's the river.
That's so funny.
Yes.
Oh, because this is the base.
Yeah, and so it's funny because I just didn't even pay attention to this during setup. I'm like, because I'm quickly setting it up so we can get to playing or whatnot. Yeah, anyway. And then I had said to Lacey, I'm like, it's so crazy that they have these nice resources. And then these like the fourth resource was this like wooden turkey meeple. And I'm like, you would think they would go ahead and do the full board. Anyway, it was just really,
so funny.
It was funny once I realized it. I think I actually realized it. If you notice, I cleared that shelf because it was stuff I was selling.
Is this it?
Yeah, it was on that shelf of stuff I was selling. And I'm like, oh, this is where those things came from.
Oh, and there's the gems and the gold and all that. And
absolutely.
That's so funny.
So yes, Steve, super nice resources for in a very basic game. Very funny that guy decided to do that. Also, I'm going to take him out because I'll play this game like once a year, maybe.
Yeah. Board Then Play, welcome. I appreciate it. Now, before you move on, I'm just going to tell you a little something here. I'm a little bit butthurt that this one got played without me because you know why.
Well, I slightly know why.
We've been working down this top row of games.
You're absolutely right.
And this was the next one.
No,
Yeah.
we're up way up there.
No, we were at like this one was up here. It had to have been up there.
No, it was right where Memoir 44 was.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were a ways off it.
I guess we were probably like...
We were not... We've been working through kind of our backlog of games we've never played before.
No, we've looked at this one like we were going to play it. Okay.
And so we're like 8 away.
Higher
We'll
up.
call it eight-ish games away from playing it. Anyway, it's really because like I thought, oh, I can learn this really quick, play it.
When you said that you could learn it in 30 minutes, I was like, yeah, that's the exact game that we would normally play right after this stream. Right?
Absolutely.
That's exactly
and then I thought about that. I'm like, I don't want to play Blue Lagoon again because I think that needs played with more people, right? And I knew I'd beat her very bad if I played Cynthia, and she had not played it. So that was kind of my basis on thought. So anyway.
Are those games your shared collection? This is Devin's house.
It is my house. These are all my games. Paul does have roughly 100 games or so over at his house, but these are specifically mine. Most of the time we get games from like a publisher or something like that. It's pretty easy to know which of the two of us liked the game, and that's where it stays, right? Like we talked about Now or Never, sitting right there.
Yes.
That was not one of Paul's all-time favorite games, so I ended up with it here.
Distilled is at my house because it was one that you didn't enjoy very much.
Yeah,
Viticulture is here.
Yeah,
right?
so it's pretty easy to, and then honestly, Paul uses my space for if he's even marginally unsure about a game.
Yeah.
It just sits over here.
Yeah.
So thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Couple hauls of buying 60 games at once will help
this for
help
you.
this, and then a lot are just games I like.
Yeah.
I typically don't buy a game.
You don't. The last one that you've bought, just one, Circadians. Right?
Yeah, I
That was
don't.
it.
I was gonna say I don't typically just buy a game if I don't know it and risk not knowing. Like
Yeah.
I get games. We use cons to try games, and then I get games that I actually really like.
And then with that being said, though, if you do get a haul, right, you're generally paying between $5 to $10 per game, so it's worth it, right? Because if you resell it, $5 to $10 a game, that's pretty easy to get. So
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not bad.
Yeah, and honestly, we talked about Lacey being a saint earlier. She allows me to take up this back room of our house. It is by our back door, which is why you guys occasionally hear our dog door opening from time to time. But I'm not going to complain because she is letting me take up an entire room of our house for playing games. So. All right.
But with that being said, I will ask Devin, hey, let me borrow this game. I'll just take it to my house.
Yeah.
We meet up once a week easily, so he's not gonna miss playing Paladins for 2 weeks, right? It's one of those kind of things. So keeping your collection to a minimum, 3x4 Kallax only. So I will say at my house, I have I don't even know what it is now. I've actually taken apart the Kallaxes because I could fit more games just normally. It's not a real Kallax, but pretty much whenever my room is full at my house, that's about it. And that's what Devin was saying. I'll just bring stuff over here because he's got room on top too. So until Devin completely runs out of room, I've got space forever.
Fast approaching.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, Trailblazers. Paul, you played this one.
It's good to have a friend who games. You can play. Yeah, exactly. That's the biggest thing. And it's just great to have somebody to play with. Trailblazers. Yeah, this is one that I've been playing a lot recently. Again, this is one that is in... This box isn't the one that I have. I have the Super Deluxe version. I'm sorry, I take that back. The Super Travel version, which comes in just a little kind of hard case. It's honestly about this big. It's got a little carabiner on it. But I took it on my trip to Ecuador. And it's super easy. It's just a... card laying game where you're trying to make trails from one campsite and trying to return to the campsite. So throughout the game, you have 3 campsites. You have a hiking one, a kayaking one, and a biking one. And then you'll lay a card, and it's got either a red, blue, or brown trail. And then on that card, there's a couple of different trails. So you're just kind of mapping it out, trying to make them connect. If you're playing multiplayer, there's like in-game scoring stuff where it's like be the first person to have 4 hiking trails coming off of it, be the first person to encircle both camps with the bike, and then there's end-game stuff, which is like have 2 of the 3 camps completely surrounded, just stuff like that. So it's just a lot of fun, just a little puzzly kind of game that is going to change every single time based on what cards you draft. And then I've been playing the solo a lot lately, which is basically this is your threshold for score. I don't know if I said it last time or if I did it last time, but I finally beat the 50-point threshold. And so now I'm trying to beat the first in-game score, which is by the end of the 3rd round. There's 4 rounds of play, but by the end of the 3rd round, you have to have 4 trails coming off of and connecting to the hiking trail. And that one's been very hard. So if you don't have that by the end of the 3rd round, you automatically lose. But you also have to have that 50-point threshold. So it's going to be a little bit of time before I beat this one. But it's a ton of fun. I really enjoy it, and it's a good game.
Yeah. Trismegistus. Trismegistus.
Yeah, Board Them Play Living Close is pretty good. I will say we're about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on traffic, but it's not too bad. Going back to what Pat said earlier, an hour is not bad because we're Texan.
Yeah, I don't think that's bad at all. This game is very interesting because this was Paul and I's very first con game.
Ever. I think this was Oh, I was gonna say, I think this is the heaviest game I had ever played up until that point.
And
But
it probably
I
might.
think Mage Knight might have been heavier.
You didn't play Mage Knight. You played Mage,
Mage
Wars. I don't know. But anyway, so we get to BGG Con 19, I believe.
Yeah.
This Paul is like barely into the hobby at this point, a couple of years. And we
Definitely not board and dice level games.
Yeah. And guy has a player wanted sign. We don't know anything about it. We sit down, we play this. I absolutely love the game, and what was memorable for me from then, right? I hadn't at that time really realized how heavy of games I personally liked. So like, I was still learning about kind of the heavier end of games, and so like I played this, I'm like, wow, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Always remembered it. Got this on a hall, one of the halls, and it sat here because Paul has not played it again with me. So I decided to play it. So I decided to relearn it, and it was funny because as I was relearning it, I sent Paul a message, and I'm like, hey, do you remember that game? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, do you remember it being complicated? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, man, it's crazy because like I just redid the rules, and I'm like, it's not that complicated. I'm like, it's just kind of basic game mechanics. I think it's just, we play so many
5 years more into the hobby
so
now.
many games now. Anyway, this had a solo that I actually thought was pretty good. You played against Bot Magistus is what it was. Yeah, it was fun. I really, it ensured me, oh, I really do like that game. I think it's very clever. You have this like, you're doing like alchemy, right? And so you have this alchemy track where you can start with different raw chemicals or raw ingredients or raw elements. That's what they are. And you refine them. And you have this like neat little track where you're doing stuff. But really, I think the bulk of the game is this dice usage mechanic. Every dice is got 6 symbols. And so you roll the dice, and you either use the dice as the color it is, there's white, black, and red, or as a symbol. And it's just really neat how those two things kind of function, and then all this stuff. Now, it is a game full of symbols upon symbols upon symbols upon symbols upon symbols. But I don't mind it. I play a lot of games that are symbol based. And so, I don't know. It was a blast. I can't wait to play it again.
So it's funny, what I remember mainly about this was some older dude, right? And this game had just released at Essen, right? So that was in October. BGG was in November. So the game had just released in Essen. And I remember there was like rules errors or something, and he was just like, don't look at this player aid. I made this player aid. Look at this one, kind of thing. And I just remember thinking like, wow, this dude is deep. Like,
yeah, like he had brought it back from Essen.
Yeah, he had brought it back. But I remember that. It was really cool. I really thought the theme was something that was awesome. Obviously, at this point, like Devin said, I was early on. So like the alchemy and all that, I was like, oh, you can make these 2 dice turn into this dice and to this color. And I don't know, I thought that was really cool. And once you had texted me last week, or whenever that was, it was like, I really don't think it's that heavy. That kind of got me like, okay, maybe I will go into that. So I think you might have convinced me just with that little text to play this. So going up to the chat there, Nick, you had asked if we tried Kalis 1303. I have not heard of that one, and I actually just looked it up. I've heard of Kalis, which is a 2005 game, which looks like it was re-implemented by that 1303. Honestly, don't know anything about it. But yeah, if I'm assuming you didn't pick it up, but I'd be interested to know more about it.
Viticulture. So I played Viticulture back when it was originally out in, I don't know, 2000 something, early 2000, yeah, 2010,
something like that.
12, who knows. I have always completely loved, I always loved Viticulture. Paul's always not ever been a fan of Viticulture, but I've never gotten the chance to play Tuscany. And we finally did. We finally got a copy of Tuscany, and I understand all the hype. So I love viticulture, right? Everybody talks about how great Tuscany is, and oh, you got to play it with Tuscany. Basically, people say it's like an essential expansion. No pun with it being the essential edition, but I expected it to be more impactful, like have sweeping game changes, and it didn't. It was a bunch of subtle game changes, right? It was one, again, it was modular. Not a big fan of that, but we played with them all, and yeah, it was really. I thought it was good. I thought it was good. I ended up actually soloing it.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
I'm pretty sure I soloed it. Yeah.
So I mean, I'll touch on this one. So I'm not the biggest viticulture fan. It's a fine game. It's just something that it gets so much love, and I just don't really understand why. That's kind of what I feel about it. And it's a game that I'm just never going to pick up on my own. What I will say, the Tuscany expansion, I absolutely love the worker module that it adds, right? So it adds those 2 other workers that can change based on whatever card they have. So we recently had done a playthrough where one of them is, I forget what you call it, but basically you can retrieve a worker in the same round of the game, right? And then the other one was, if you go here, you can pay somebody a coin to go on their same spot, or they can pay you a coin to go on the same spot, something along those lines. But what I really liked about it was it's basically, the one thing that I really like about viticulture is the grande worker. I think that's an awesome mechanic. And this just added like another different worker mechanic, which I thought was really cool. And just the fact that they had the different cards to have different ones every game, I thought that was just genius that they did. The Tuscany expansion also makes it way tighter, I feel like. Since there's only 4 actions per season that you can do, it just feels a lot more, do I really want to waste my workers in this season? And like, if I'm not going first, maybe I'm not going to harvest this round, right? So it did improve viticulture for me, but if you don't enjoy viticulture, it's not going to change your mind, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, but the workers, I think that was terrific. I really, really like that.
Cool. That's right. I did recently solo it on stream, and now I remember. I forgot that that's what I did, and it was very narrow. I played the like medium difficulty on it, and I had like calculated exactly what I needed, and I just edged it out by a couple points. It was actually a really fun playthrough. The one we recently played, right? Yeah, it was not. No, it was kind of narrow close as well on our playthrough. I took a very early lead with it, but I basically didn't build a big grape engine, and I had to kind of nickel and dime rest of my points to the finish.
So actually, our gameplay will come out this Tuesday. We've got the video all loaded up, but it's like the first time that I've actually gone like heavy into wines and like trying to sell the wines, because normally I will just nickel and dime, like that's just I like getting points here and there, right? And I just had like a really good engine, or I should have had a very good engine, and it just I didn't
quite get it.
Yeah. So but yeah, that one will come up.
Yeah, Nick, so the structures is the one I'm like want to like more. But now in the 2 playthroughs that I've had it, the structures I have drawn have not like meshed with what I'm doing. And I honestly was like, these structures suck. And then I looked through the deck and I'm like, no, these structures are really good. And
you just haven't gotten them.
Yeah. In my solo, I did get the one that gave you a victory point for upkeep. So that was good. It was expensive. But anyway, yeah. That was viticulture, and I think our last game is good old Zapotec, which we also very recently played here.
Yeah, Zapotec is another board and dice game. One of their not well-known ones. We actually got this game for free at a BGG spring. We got 3 of these games for free at BGG Spring.
Yeah, we all ended up with this. Me, Paul, and Joe.
Yeah,
You
and,
draw random cards. It's based off like suits and numbers and.
What was it? So we were trying to plan what it was, right? You're like, Paul, you need to get this and this and that.
Yeah. So, right, you go as a group, right, and you're like, kind of like, let's be a little strategic and not all end up with the same games. So, I don't know. Paul just gets all of a sudden. We talk about this. We're like, okay, you know. Like,
and me being the person that I am, I'm going.
Yeah. And so I go first, right? And I grab whatever, a club or whatnot, and I say, like, Paul's next. I'm like, I got a club, and I walk off because it's kind of quick. It's a line or whatnot, and like Paul just goes into like. Frantic. I'm gonna do this, and he just quickly grabs a card and walks off. Joe's behind him, and Joe's like, "What card? And he has no idea. So we all ended up with the same suit. Yeah. We all ended up with Zapotec.
I think I said like, I got black, and you're like, what does that even mean? Or I think I said I got like 2 or something like that, and you're like, that doesn't help at all. But yeah, so that's why if you ever actually really look at our background, there's 3 Zapotecs here.
Yeah, because
we've got 3 of them. So kind of a running joke that we have. But anyway, Zapotec kind of looks like Kids Teotihuacan.
It's not.
It's not. This game is surprisingly heavy. It's very mechanically easy, but it is strategically hard. So throughout the game, you have this board, and this board has different resources on it, right? So you start off with 3 or 4 cards. You're probably better at explaining this one. There's a bunch of different sections in the board, and the card that you play lets you build on one of those sections. So once you build on one of those sections, you take one of the building tiles and you play it on your resource board. And then anytime you produce some type of resource, you will produce everything in either the column or the row that's on there. So at the beginning, you're really not producing anything. But at the end, you've got this really strong engine going. But the catch is there's only 3 rounds. What is it? 5 turns total?
Yeah,
something like that.
There's 5 total rounds of play.
Yeah.
And the first round is going to be like you can build 2 things, best case scenario. Yeah. But yeah, so really the meat of the game is the cards, the hand that you have. You're all going to play a card, and that card is going to do 3 different things. One is going to have a number on it, and that's your turn order, right? Lowest to highest, that's your turn order. So that's 1, and you're thinking about that when you're playing the card. 2, it has one of the 3 different resource icons on it, and you are going to play, or you're going to produce along either the row or column of your matching of that resource icon. And then 3, it is going to dictate what your restriction for building is. And there's basically 3 different types of restrictions. It could be an individual type of building. It could be a terrain. There's 3 different types of terrain. Or it could be an area. There's 3 different areas. So 3 different buildings, 3 different terrains, 3 different areas. So you have this hand of cards, and you're thinking about like all of that, right? Do I want to go early? Do I not want to go early? Do I want to do this wood row, or maybe this less good stone row, but I get to go early for it, or maybe the stone row is the things I want to build. And so that's really where the meat of the game is. After you've done that, it's not quite autopilot because there are other decisions and things you can do. But you're then doing that. You're building, and so anyway, it's got the Terraforming Mars Gaia project. The round scoring is a big portion of the game, and so you're factoring that in. And
the really cool part with that is there's end round bonuses, and it's the card that wasn't drafted the prior round. So like whenever you're drafting those, you're really thinking about the next round already and what you want to do.
Yeah, and that comes into turn order because going last, while bad for placement, is good for getting to dictate what the next end of game or end of round scoring is. You kind of create your own end of game scoring. there's honestly a lot to it, and the whole thing, truthfully, took us a little bit longer on stream, but this thing plays in 45 to 60 minutes every single time. And it ends right as you have built up an engine that you want to play one more turn, and it ends at the perfect time. I like very tight games, and this is kind of the definition of that. Like you are very tight, and everything you do matters.
You know, it has the same feeling of the White Castle, right? Because you are going to have all these. They're not necessarily combos here in Zap Attack, right? But it's like, once I do this, then I can actually build out this temple and make sure that this is working. But the ordering of what you do is kind of important as well. So if you like a tight game, this is definitely one that we recommend. And you called it from the beginning. You said this is a sleeper game, and it definitely is. And we had played it so long ago that I forgot just how good it was. And then on that stream, it was just like, wow, we can't go that long without playing it again.
Yep. So that was our list. Real quick, I'll answer. Board Then Played asked us, do we back games? So I was one that I, early on into the hobby, would back frequently. I never was a super backer, but, 5 or 6 a year, we'll call it, that to give you an idea of time frame. Honestly, I have slowed up to where, not that my backing is completely non-existent, but basically at this point, I have games that I really enjoy playing. I've never been one to just totally buy into hype. Most of the times, I've backed a lot of games that other people haven't heard of, right? Because I thought it was interesting to me. So I don't buy into the hype. I want a game to kind of prove that it's good. So with that said, I almost always back Garfield because, not almost always, I do always back Garfield because, one, I really want to support him and their company. They have proven that they make games that I really like. There have been some that have been misses for me, but overall, I have always liked, and they're typically always firing on all cylinders and not scrimping. And I also really appreciate the way that they run their no stretch goal. This is it, right?
And the same game that you get on Kickstarter is the same game that you'll get in retail.
Yeah, and so I always get that. And then I get games like, I recently backed, and I say recently, it's been about a year and a half, should be recently, or should be filling soon, is like Teotihuacan's Master or whatever, Deluxe Edition, right? I really enjoy Teotihuacan. I don't own it. This was like a perfect entry point for me, so I did that. So if a game just really... I know I'm gonna like, and it's Suburbia was one that like I backed. It was a kind of proven game already.
Yeah.
I backed it, getting kind of the deluxe edition. But overall, I don't really back a ton anymore. I would rather just get games that I know that I like from the jump. Or from proven. Publishers, right?
Yeah, and generally for me, same. I'll back most of the Garfield games. I really enjoy those. But if it's a game that I'm gonna want to play, chances are Devin's gonna want to play it anyway, for the most part. So one of us is gonna have that game at some point. And then a lot of the newer games that come out. We had mentioned we talk to publishers and stuff like that, so we'll try to get stuff through there. But if not, we'll just kind of pick it up secondhand from somewhere and just go from there. Like, the biggest thing is we've got a gigantic collection, so backing isn't really something that we do too much of. Now, I will say, Board and Play, Luthier to me looks amazing. That game looks super awesome, and I was pretty close to backing that one. That is one that I was like, I think I might pull the trigger on this one, but I ended up not doing it. But that is one that looked really good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, real quickly, probably my favorite moment from last month. I don't know if it was yours, but it was definitely probably one of my favorite moments that we had. So like I mentioned earlier, it was my daughter's birthday. And we did the whole birthday party thing, and then people came over to the house, and then Devin and his family came over. And I don't remember how we did it, what happened, but my daughter Lola ended up going into my game room, and she's got a little cubby where her games are at, and she pulled it out. And then I don't know if we brought Luna in or if Luna came in or whatever, but
Luna, my daughter, is 2 years younger than her, and she just follows her around.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So anyway, they were both standing at my board game table, and they had gotten my first orchard out, and so both of us were just kind of standing there watching it, and we kind of explained the game. I think actually you have it, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
So both girls kind of knew the game, and we just got them kind of just set up, and the girls started setting up the game. They put the apples where they were supposed to go, and then they just started rolling dice, and they played the entire game.
Yeah. So.
And it was just like, it was so awesome just to see, like, this is super cool. Like, we're playing the games now. Our girls are playing the games, and
yeah, it was really fun. It was just the two of them playing, and they were going back and forth, rolling the dice.
Yeah, they were taking their turns, and like, hey, it's my turn, whatever. And I remember the first die roll. We had talked about, like, the crow never wins. The crow never wins.
Yeah.
I think, like, the first
couple die rolls with a crow, and we're like, oh my goodness, these girls are playing together, and they're about to lose.
We're about to have a meltdown.
A dang near unlosable game. It was a great moment. And then it's funny because literally a week ago, Lacey sends me a picture, and Luna is dead quiet.
Yeah.
Right? And if you have kids, they're not going to be dead quiet, right? And she goes looking for her, and Luna is literally right here, standing in this chair. She has first orchard, and Lacey says she has the game about 3/4 set up correct. Like, awesome. the road tiles were like not the right direction, but it was still in a row type of thing, and she was taking the fruit out and placing it all by herself.
That's
right?
Awesome.
Like, had gotten it from here and was laying it out here, and I was gone, and so Lacey played with her.
That's so cool. Yeah, Ken, it's in the blood. I'm just hoping, give us another 5 years, whatever, and we'll be playing better games than my first orchard.
So at this con we were just at, I played with a group of guys, and they were all older than me. I don't know exactly how much older, but they were a good amount older than me, and they basically all had kids that were out of high school, right? So I put them, a 20-ish year gap, and they were all just talking about, like, oh, I had moments like that, and then this one guy was like, oh yeah, he told this like super sweet story of like, oh yeah, my daughter started playing Carcassonne with me at 4, and we began with just matching tiles, and then eventually introduced rules and that kind of stuff, and she's 19 now and probably hasn't played a game with me in 10 years, and I was like, I was like, oh, that story,
you ruined it.
Yeah, that story turned real quick.
Yeah, you're just like, every game I've bought in the last 2 years has been 1 to 5 players.
So that's why I got 2 of them, right? One of these has got to come out like in games. So that was just a cool moment that we wanted to throw in there.
It was a ton of fun.
But man, I don't know that there's any more questions, but one thing, if you guys missed, Paul did a stream relatively recent ago. We are, hopefully you haven't missed the fact that we are streaming kind of a bit more frequently, right? It used to be just on Fridays, and now I've thrown in on Wednesdays. Paul is basically doing, we'll call it every other Monday, or so. So we're going to have 2 or 3 streams every week. And so on YouTube, we have posted a little calendar. Here's a picture of it right here. Not, we may tweak things, but we'll do something like this kind of every single month, just so you guys have an idea of what we're going to do. We're still going to stick to our regular Friday is us together. Because it's our day to get to play games, and we're not going to lose that. But yeah, so Fridays will always be together. Wednesdays, I'll basically be soloing on Wednesdays, unless I have, like, on the 21st, work trips, those kind of things come up. And then Paul is going to be doing kind of very interesting, not necessarily straight up gameplay stuff, right? So if you missed this last Monday, he did kind of
the arena review.
Yeah, the arena review, where he talked about Board Game Arena, right? Because that is something that there is a large amount of you guys that even play with Paul, and I'm kind of out of that kind of niche of board gaming, and so Paul wants to cater to that niche, and he's going to be talking about kind of all the things that he played or wants to play or in beta, alpha, just released, kind of all the Board Game Arena stuff. And then he's also going to continue on with what he's been doing the last couple months, where talks about
what's new in the collection.
You talk about our collection, and we talk about it's large, and we
keep getting new games in it.
But we keep getting games where
this month we've already got 1, 2, 3. We will have 6 this month already.
We're very fortunate that we've at least hit a point that we're popular enough that publishers want to give us games to show off. And so that's really cool. So the collection will keep growing just based off of that, and as long as that continues. So hopefully it does. But yeah, so we'll keep this calendar kind of posted on, I assume, all the social
media, all that kind of stuff.
The social stuff that Paul likes to do, and I absolutely cannot stand. But yeah, that's what we got.
Yeah, I'm glad you could jump on here. We really appreciate it. You're in Australia, but always enjoy the chat. Yeah, it's a good time, and these ones are just kind of more of our casual chats. So we really do appreciate you guys being here.
Absolutely.
And it's always a good time. So Steve, we appreciate you. I'm actually looking forward to talking to you in the near future, the very near future. So thank you for what you've been doing for us. And just appreciate all you guys being here.
Yeah, of course. So as always, please like, comment, subscribe. All those things help us, help our channel grow. See y'all on the next one.